3, 2, 1.
Racing World is presented by Race Control Magazine.
Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Racing World, the podcast show that's just getting bigger and bigger all the time. Back outside, because while we can, we'll make the most of this weather, and there's plenty in store on the show today. But don't forget, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, a whole range of things, Anchor FM. So don't forget, like and subscribe. It's really important to the future of this show, and we thank you very much for your patronage. And our aim is just to make the show bigger and better every week for you. Well, it's a massive show on Racing World today. We review the V8 Supercars from last weekend in Australia, look at the North Island Enduro and get the chance to catch up with my old mate John McIntyre. Then we move on to the US and it's the countdown to the Indy Grand Prix in the month of May. From there, me and Bob chat about Spain, Formula One, Hamilton, what will happen to Valtteri Bottas. And then from our archive section, once again, we go back to Pukekohe 2001. Without the bridge, it's New Zealand touring cars in a 44-car field. Well, first up in the show today, it's only fitting that we go Trans-Tasman, seeing as the Trans-Tasman bubble's open. And Bob, V8 Supercar over the weekend, not bad, eh?
No, it wasn't bad, actually. It was a Ford benefit in many ways, wasn't it? Because Ford traditionally went very well at Tail and Bend, and they proved yet again they go very well at Tail and Bend. It's strange how all the cars are pretty much the same, not only in supercars, but in Formula One, all sorts of things. And one car is particularly suited to a circuit where the other one isn't. I mean, after the display of Shane Van Gisbergen in the first couple of races this year, or first couple of events this year, you know, that was kind of, you'd think he was right on top of it all, and then suddenly you get to Tail and Bend, and he's still there. He's still good. He's improved his championship lead, increased that, but it just changes. Anyway, it was a pretty good weekend for the Forwards, especially Andre Heimgartner.
Great,
I mean, that was great.
Well
That really
deserved.
was.
Really well
amazing.
deserved. Been a guest on our show, so now we can get him back again.
Yeah, that's right. And I see this morning that Kelly Racing are getting quite keen on re-signing him before anybody else does. When you think that just not very long ago, we were talking with Andre, and he said off air that he had plenty of options if he didn't do supercars anymore. He's got this financial career that he was working out. Now all of a sudden he's a wanted property in supercars, and that's not that he has been unwanted. I don't mean to say that, but now all of a sudden people are chasing him to make sure they've got him. So apart from him, Di Pasquale and Cam Waters, they did well. They won races, and it's interesting what Shane Van Gisbergen had to say. That little quip, he always comes up with something, doesn't he? You know, about, they're not talking about parity now, are they? It's straight after the race. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's very important for Andre to have finally got that race win. It's been a long time coming, but isn't it interesting too that suddenly, you know, not taking anything away from him, you have a race win, and now we're talking about, he's hot property. Last week, without the race win, he was just Andre Heimgartner. Yeah, but it's the same in any category, and we'll talk more about Valtteri Bottas later. Same sort of thing, you know, you get a win, and the whole ball game changes.
Yeah,
but,
I guess so.
No, it was a good event. I thought it was quite spectacular. Rain obviously is the great leveller, but as we've said so many times, same for everyone.
Yeah, same for everyone, exactly. And I'm not sure that I'm in love with Tail and Bend as a track yet.
Me neither.
It's kind of, I'm not actually sure where I am all the time watching it go around. I think the drivers are about the same. You know, where you get all these, they follow the track and they quite easily know where it goes, but suddenly you see a big old piece of track over here and you're not entirely sure where it goes. You know, it just feels a bit confusing to me. You
can get sort of disorientated quite quickly, can't you?
One person who got used to it quite well, I'll go off supercars a little bit, is Matthew Payne. Now, okay, he had 3 races. One was the first one was not the best. I mean, I'm not putting all the blame on him on that. That was just everybody going down into the corner, but he got a penalty, whatever, 10 points penalty. But then to come back and get on the podium, really good racing. And you've got to remember, this is his only his second week in Porsche Supercars with Urbane Motorsport, and that's his first racing in tin top cars, following his first ever events in Formula cars with the Toyota Racing Series in single-seater cars. I mean, the trajectory that he's on, well, it can't keep on going because in a month's time he'll be winning a Formula One race if the trajectory keeps going.
Well, that'll be cool.
But nonetheless, I mean, he's just superb performance. Superb performance from his point
Great
of view
talent.
as well. Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoyed watching his weekend, and the Earl Bamber Motorsport runs 2 other cars in another category, but Earl Bamber himself, I think he was watching from Germany or something. It's a great little team he's putting together there as well, and Porsches generally.
It's that life after racing for Earl Bamber, and with a bit of Porsche support as well.
Yeah,
It's, you know, they're loyal to someone who was loyal to them.
That's
and
right.
It works, isn't it? It's that
I'm
family Porsche thing.
Yeah, I'm calling the whatever race that Matthew was in the Supercar. Actually, not the Supercar. Is the
Super Cup.
what is it? Australian, whatever it's
Yeah.
called. Anyway, and then Earl's got 2 other cars in racing over there in another championship, and those guys are doing pretty well. Guy and girl are doing pretty well. So yeah, all in all, I think it was pretty good, pretty interesting weekend. Frankly,
Where's that leave us overall with Supercar points
I
wise?
tell you what, it left me is bloody tired because I was watching Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, and
Those electric
Tail
cars?
and Bend. I did look at
watched
it.
the highlights.
All weekend, so there was plenty going on. In the points for Supercars, Shane has extended his points now. He's 190 ahead of Jamie Whincup. Shane's got 1,112 points. I've got to read them off because they're changing all the time.
Yep.
But so Jamie Whincup is 190 back in second, Moster 246 back, Davison 251 back, and Cam Waters 264 back. So Shane's got a fairly hefty lead already, but we know it's 300 points for a weekend overall generally, and so it's not much got to go wrong before that lead is chipped away.
Changes.
But you get points as long as you finish. You get points, and that's what's kind of hurt Anton Di Pasquale at the moment because he got 2 DNFs, and that's that really.
Yeah, well, he came
kicks
out
you.
with this bizarre comment, "Oh, my championship's done and dusted."
Oh, yeah, give
it's
it away.
like, yeah, exactly, give it away because hello, it's only May. And the championship goes to December, so
he's got
wrong
plenty
mindset.
of time. It's going to be a harder job. There's no doubt about it. But
stranger things happen.
Yeah.
There's a place called Bathurst.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah. So, anyway, an enjoyable weekend, I suppose. I'd just like to get back to another track. What have we got next? Winton, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is
Average.
It looks more of a racetrack than what they're at. That's all.
Yeah.
So I hope so.
Well, that wraps up V8 Supercar. Well, welcome back to Racing World. This time we're out on the road yet again. We're at the first round of the North Island Endurance Series. I've caught up with my old mate John McIntyre and my semi-old mate Brock Timperley. Brock, you're back in the car for the 1 hour Enduros. You got the old guy with you as well.
Yeah, this is a first for me, racing with the old boy, but no, it's
the old thank you. It's wearing thin already.
No, it's really exciting for us to finally actually team up and drive the same car at the same track. So I'm excited to see what we've got in store tomorrow, and it's a good learning experience for me as well. Actually, same car, same track. Actually, being able to relate the data to what Johnny can do in the car. So really good learning experience for me.
A lot of history with this car though, eh?
Yeah, there is. Look, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I knew the chassis is our car, but I didn't realise it still had the original logbook with it. So that was really nice to see this morning when we did the documentation that it's still got all the old notes of when they used to tear their engine down every 5 seconds. We were in the NZ V8s and things to right now. That was 2006, 2007. What's that? 14 years later, here we are again.
It's brilliant. And another quirky factor this weekend is not only you teamed up with Brock, but you're out there and your dad's out there as well.
I know, it's just the coolest thing probably about the whole deal is originally I got into this deal here because Dad and I were going to run at Hampton Downs, right? So we were going to do that, and then I said to Brock, why don't you and I do the other 2 rounds, but my dad and I will do this because we wanted to do a race together. Well, next minute, Dad gets a big call up to do the 3 hour in the Porsche. He doesn't need me anymore, doesn't want to run an old taxi. So he's gone straight from his little Escort straight into a 997. He's doing a bloody good job so far, and it's just really neat. You know, the guy's 72, he's supported me all of his career, done my tyres for umpteen years, been around the traps, been on the inside of the circuit. Now he's actually out there doing it. It's very cool.
That's that's kind of what it's all about, really, isn't it? When we look back at when we were all young kids, I remember my father supporting me when we were in karting and my one attempt at Formula Ford.
Yep.
But we wouldn't be there without those people in our lives, would we?
No, that's right, and it's all those shared experiences. I mean, Dad and I, 1984, we were up there. We actually built a grandstand the day before the B&H and things like that. So not only have I raced and he's raced, but we're just passionate motorsport people. So this is the coolest thing.
Now, just touching on the fact that we're here, it's the opening round of the North Island Endurance Series. You and Brock are teamed up in the 1 hour event. We do see this amazing pedigree of cars and drivers line up for these Enduros every year, don't we?
Oh, look, it just seems to get stronger and stronger. I think it's a value you get from having quite a lot of track time, and the 1 hour it's a good duration, and then obviously you've got the 2 and the 3 to progress to, but nothing beats mileage. And you tell any young guy, and I know you're involved with the academy, any young guy or girl, you need seat time, and it's so hard to get. So I think that's why it's so appealing for a major range of drivers, is the endurance series gives you that seat time that you need, and you're the best driver in the last lap of the last race of the series, not the first one.
Well, like anything, and even more so with the enduro, it's all about finishing as well, don't you? You win or lose, or you can lose an event in the first corner, but you've got to go the whole hog, don't you?
Yeah, look, absolutely. So I mean, it brings the crew element into it and the preparation side of things as well. So I think they just sort of they've just seemed to have hit it right, and good time of year when I guess people, rather than being at the beach or doing whatever they do in summertime, winter and spring racing, it suits a lot of people.
Well, I know you've done a lot for Brock in his career in helping him out. There must be an element of satisfaction as well, being able to coach a young driver.
Oh, look, definitely. And, when you see someone with a lot of talent, and, they just need a few steps here and a bit of, steering in the right direction. And, he's come such a long way from the first time I ran him was here at Pukekohe, actually. So that was in 2018, I think, in the NZ-V8s. And compared to that person that day to now, he's just as a person and a driver, he's just so has improved so much. And so now we get a chance to go in the same car together. We haven't had a lot of time. It was the first time I hopped in the car today, in this current spec, obviously. He drove it 2 years ago and did a fantastic job and actually won the 1 hour. So it was a real surprise. We pulled a pretty good strategy on the driver change around. But so it's really neat to have him on board, and it's a real family affair here with his dad helping out, Roy, and a lot of people I know that are helping on the car, and of course Wayne Anderson, Jacko, as most people know him as. I've normally raced against him, but now we're racing with him, and it's really cool.
Oh, it's a pleasure to see you. I think you probably set the scene now that we're going to have to get out on the road and follow you for the next few North Island endurance events.
Oh, well, yeah, thank you very much. I hope you've got the budget to cover me. That'd be great.
Yeah, well, thank you also for the support that you've given Racing World as a show and as a concept. You know what it means to me personally. And for people, if you've got the chance, get out here and support John McIntyre and Brock Timberley. It's a great way to get in and follow someone that's truly Kiwi, truly passionate about the show. Thanks again, John.
Thanks, mate. Always good to see you.
Right, well, moving on to my one now, IndyCar. Few announcements this morning, the unveiling of the pace car, nice new Chevy that it is. Very impressive, actually, mid-engine thing that they've come out with.
Almost looks like a concept car.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind winning the 500 just to claim the car, So
if you're only going to win the 500 just to get a car, you're a sad bugger, because there's an awful lot more going on that.
So that was the first part of the news this morning. And the second part of the news, Tony Stewart's there to support AJ Foyt Racing, which I thought was quite interesting. Not in a driving role. I kind of don't really know what sort of role it is other than a namesake type role, but iconic figure there with another iconic figure. AJ's 60th year at Indianapolis, which is just amazing. The race itself is only 20 days away now.
Frankly, amazing that AJ Foyt's still living, to be honest. I mean, the number of operations he's had lately, and the number of health problems, and the size of the guy, and his career, staggering career.
Yeah. And we sadly lost Bobby Unser just over a week ago.
Yes.
So
yeah.
It was one of that iconic group that's sadly no longer with us. Quite a few other bits and pieces coming out of Indy just recently as well. The fact that we definitely got 36 cars, both Chevy and Honda have said 18 cars apiece. So the 18 engine leases are done. That gives us 36 for 33.
So it'll be a bump day.
3 are going home.
Proper bump day.
And we've got a few smaller teams that have kind of come out of left field that are there and fully entered and everything. So I think, will there be a surprise? Yes, possibly. But you know, hard on those small teams to come straight up to speed. But then again, same for everyone.
Yep.
But the pressure goes on to get onto that last row. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it is. But before the Indy 500, we've still got the road course coming up.
Yep, this weekend.
This weekend coming, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Another day? No, there's no Formula One, so that's right. There's no supercars, so it's just Indy and NASCAR.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're
right.
fine this
That's
week.
Better.
I think road course events always an interesting thing at Indy. You know, both Simon Pagenaud and Will Power have pretty much dominated the road course events since they began on the infield at Indy. Whether that's a form guide to the 500 or not, personally, I don't think it is, because it's such a different setup. We've seen some, win one, win the other, but I'm not going to kind of buy into that one.
They're different cars. I mean, once again, this weekend is going to be another first for Scott McLaughlin, because he wouldn't have driven on that road course. No. Well, he might have been around it in a road car, I suppose, but I don't think
very limited opportunities.
There's not a lot, because even when, as people might know, even when the Indy 500 isn't working, most of that track is used for parking and trucks on it and all sorts of things out the back.
And they've got to reconfigure the track for it to be used in that fashion as well, so it doesn't happen all that often.
Maybe he's had a few sneaky games of golf there and he's been able to see what the track's like from there.
Well, yeah, and we've got the other two rookies back in the series this week because of it being a road course event. So both Romain Grosjean's back and Jimmy Johnson are back, who will step down for the 500 period. So it'd be good to see them back. I think really Scott goes in almost as the only rookie for the 500, so in theory he'll come away with Rookie of the Year.
I suppose so.
You know, I think the 500 is wide open. The interesting thing, I've got some stats now. I did a bit of web surfing today, and Vegas has opened up the odds on race winners for the 500. And our Kiwi boy on the two major booking facilities that are out in Vegas has the best odds at 5-1. Second is Joseph Newgarden at 7-1. And Pato Award varies between 8-1, 9-1. And then it gets fairly mixed up after that.
So say that again. So they're giving Scott Dixon 5-1.
Yeah.
What about Scott McLaughlin?
Scott McLaughlin, one moment, hold on, I've got that here. 20-1 on one of the sports books.
That's not a bad bet.
No, it's not too bad. Both sports books are saying 20-1. So, not bad odds. The longest odds are actually for someone like Simona Di Silvestro. She's out to about 300-1, along with Charlie Kimball. J.R. Hildebrand's on 200-1, and Pedro Fittipaldi's on 200-1 as well. So
it wouldn't be a bad idea to
put a buck in there
to get Scott McLaughlin for a place. I should think you.
So that's only on the Vegas sports book. So let's make that very clear right now. It's just me doing some web surfing. So that's all in, and of course it's the chase for the Baby Borgs and the Big Borg, and that was revealed to last year's winner just recently. And you know it's got to be the month of May when last season's Baby Borgs are awarded to the team owner and winning driver of the Indy 500 in 2020. And for Bobby Rahal, it was a real climb and very testing season for them in 2020.
Especially after all the problems, this last year with the pandemic and everything, and how sad it was not to have our fans in the stands, but to be able to go out and win the great race, and it still was a great race, is very special. And then, of course, to receive the Baby Borg, this is number 3 for me, very special. We want more, because it really is a reflection of the greatest race in the world. And so I'm very pleased, and just can't thank Borg Warner enough for their, for beginning this trophy in the first place, let alone continuing it all these years. So it's a pretty special moment.
This year they updated the base, so different kind of taste, and that's even better. And super proud of the team, and particularly for the Saudi boys, did an amazing job.
What a special moment, huh?
It is always, like after winning 500, it's just a stopless, it's just always something coming, and obviously still ticket unveiling is coming, and the Baby Borg is the one thing, and this is a beautiful moment.
Well, there you go. There's a Baby Borg given away, and another one will be up for grabs in just under 20 days from now. So the 105th running of the Indy 500, very, very close now. Anything's possible. Bob, moving on to last weekend, Barcelona, F1. There's a lot to take away from that one.
Well, there is really. The first thing to take away from it, it was a good race between two guys.
It was. Yeah.
That's the first thing. And tactically, it was a good race, and there was good racing going on all the way through. But that seems to be the case. But just look at the result for a second. Hamilton was first. He qualified first. Verstappen, second. Qualified second. Bottas, third. Qualified third. Leclerc, fourth, and qualified fourth. And the rest of the top 10 were more or less in the top 10 of qualifying. The problem with Barcelona is it's a wonderful track to race on, but it's not a wonderful track to have a race. You know, because they know it so well. All the Formula One teams tested there incessantly in the years past.
Yeah.
And then when testing came back, that was their place to test. This year they haven't been able to because it's been Bahrain and because of COVID. But they know the place backwards. And you can't overtake there. It's very difficult to overtake. So it's like saying, okay, boys, we're going to race at Pukekohe. No, we're going to test at Pukekohe for 4 or 5 days running, 4 or 5, and then on the 6th day we're going to have a race and see who's first. Well, it's going to be the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's a bit of a shame. But the saving grace was it was a good race between Hamilton and Verstappen. I'm looking forward to seeing if they get 23 races in this year. Let's say they get another. I don't know. Let's say we've just got 15 more races in the year.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to see the first corner of each of those races because I think it's the first corner that Verstappen and Hamilton are
Elbows
going to have
out.
the elbows and
out.
bumping and bashing. One of these days, one of them is going to think, no, I'm not giving way, or yes, I'm not going to do this, and it's going to happen. So I'm looking forward to that enormously. It's good to see that there is competition between at least two of the cars, rather than Bottas. He's fast and he's fast on his own, but he's just not quite there, is he? And Perez really has to get his finger out because Red Bull have a bit of a history of moving people on quite quickly. And is he doing any better than Albon did last year?
No, I was going to bring that up with you actually because that's something that we talked about a lot last year. And Christian Horner came out with a comment again in the last 48 hours saying we need to get Perez up there as well.
He's
and
being given the message.
This is mirror image of Albon, mirror image of Gasly. So if you were Sergio, you'd kind of be going,
Yeah, he's being given the message, isn't it? Interesting. Also, they opened the radio a little bit and they got Toto Wolff telling the race director what to do with blue flags, of which Gunther Steiner, famous for his mainly 4-letter words used in the Drive to Survive series. It's interesting that he's come out and not criticised but laughed at Toto Wolff, saying, "Oh, we know who's in charge of the formula now, don't we?" and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, they're trying to make the racing better. They changed turn 10 at Barcelona to make it better. It wasn't any better.
No, it didn't really prove a lot, did it, really, at the end of the day?
No.
The sausage curbing there is quite tall, though. Like, if you rode that, it presented you with a little bit of a problem.
Strangely enough, didn't hear anything about track limits over the weekend. Nobody went off on track limits. Something must have been said, or the curbs are right, or something like that. I don't know, because there was plenty of people going off a little bit, but it'll be back. So the race itself, good, we'll do that. But a couple of other bits in Formula One. Red Bull are still hunting Mercedes engine people like crazy.
Yeah, that's really been quite vocal, hasn't it?
Well, they've got 5 or 6, and I think I've been told that they've probably got 12 at the moment, but they're not releasing the names of the other ones. Toto Wolff says they've approached 100 with Lotto figure numbers. Oh, okay, fine. And also this on Sunday, I heard this morning, there's due to be some big announcement from McLaren Formula One team. Now, what that announcement is, I don't know. I've got no idea. But it's being rumoured quite heavily that there is some big announcement, and it's a good thing. Apparently, they've already had the press at McLaren factory for a press release, but it's all embargoed. I don't know what it is. I've no idea. I haven't got a clue. It's not that big that you should.
Teasers for days on end.
But if I don't know, are they going to build their own engine? No. Why would they do that when they've got Mercedes engines? Although it's possible. Have they got a big, huge new title sponsor? Maybe. Have they got? I've no idea. Are they going to go into sports car racing? Possibly. No idea. But it's interesting that there's a big announcement.
Well,
anyway.
we'll be able to report about that next week, won't we?
Yeah, hopefully so.
Just going back to Valtteri for a minute. Obviously, we talked about Christian maybe giving Sergio the first warning, if you like.
Yep.
There's been a lot of talk in the last few days too about, will Valtteri get replaced this season by George Russell? Will it happen mid-season? Will it happen at the end of the year? Valtteri's come out saying, no, we don't do that sort of thing in this team, which was a direct dig at how Red Bull potentially treat its drivers. What does Valtteri have to do? He's there as the number 2 driver. Clearly, he is the number 2 driver. Not denying anything, he brings the car home the majority of the time. Is he not doing his job?
No, he's not really. He's not doing the job that you would require of him, and that would be to get in front of Max Verstappen. But clearly, the Hamilton and Verstappen mental talent pool driving those cars is greater than Valtteri Bottas. Now, it was interesting that when Hamilton was approaching Bottas to overtake him so he could get back behind Verstappen after Hamilton's late pit stop, and he was 22 seconds behind. There was no way that Valtteri Bottas was actually going to give him the position. Hamilton had to overtake him, which Hamilton said, I've got no problem with. Yeah. But is that a sign of Valtteri? He said afterwards that, I've got my own race to run, this is my race, etc., etc. But is that a sign perhaps that he's already been told that next year you may not be here? Yeah. So he's thinking about it. I've got my own race to run now. I've got to showcase myself to other people, and this is how I'm going to do it. I don't know. But what he's got to do is, especially if Perez comes up to speed and starts getting him mixed up in the front two, then Valtteri has to get in there as well and slow down Perez, or at least hold him back and all that sort of stuff.
Because the basic role in life, whether they like it or not, for both Valtteri and for Sergio, is look after the number 1.
Yep.
In many ways, that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
And earn the Constructors' Championship as well. Because for the teams, Constructors is equally as important as it is for a driver to win the Drivers' Championship.
For the team, it's more important.
Money.
Yeah, much more important. In money terms, yeah. And more good drives over the weekend, though. We had Lando Norris. It was shaded a bit by Danny Ricciardo.
Yeah, for the first time.
Hopefully Ricciardo for the first time, and hopefully Ricciardo has now got himself comfortable with that car and got himself into it, so that we've got 2 McLarens up there. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. Once again, Carlos Sainz strategy wasn't the best, but Charles Leclerc did a really good race. Young Ocon is still beating Alonso.
Yeah, and Alonso came out with a comment about that this morning too, saying, I could not match him.
Yeah, well, that's a big statement.
That's a big statement from Fernando.
Yeah,
I think also what we're seeing there, and we'll go down the rest of the field in a minute, but we're starting to see this next generation, just like we've seen in IndyCar, rise to the top, and the older generation, unfortunately,
it's good,
they're on the way out.
It's good. It's passing the torch at some respect. I mean, this happens every year. New drivers come in, but lots of them don't make it. But I think we've now got some in there that are making it.
The Alpine almost look quite reasonable too, for a midfield car.
Yeah, it did. It looks good though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The paintwork on it is really good. But I reckon that, the Alpine, I know the engineer that's been brought in there to at the beginning of the season to try and help sort it out. And I've got a lot of faith in him, and he's a really good guy.
Vettel seemed to still struggle on the Vettel versus Stroll battle, which, we've talked about that before. Kind of a little bit sad to see Sebastian put in that position. I don't know whether it's still coming to terms with the car or not, bearing in mind that we've got this supposed car freeze over last year, and they're suffering a little bit like everyone thought Mercedes would, but Mercedes clearly played their hand at Barcelona, and they're not as bad as we've been led to believe.
I mean, the team, Aston Martin team, that car was actually pretty good last year.
Yeah.
So they're out now complaining. They've been complaining that the change in regulations has affected the balance of that car because it's high rake, low rake, and all that sort of stuff. Now Vettel. Is it something that Vettel's downward
trajectory?
I was going to say, I suppose so. Trajectory is coinciding with the fact that Aston Martin aren't particularly good, so one is bringing the other down. Vettel perhaps expected a better car and expected a better way of doing things. perhaps they expected Vettel to make a better job of what he had because he's experienced in different cars. Not many, I've got to say, but in different cars. So it is I think that combination is not doing very well. And Lawrence Stroll probably wanted Vettel in there not only for the name but to help out his son Lance.
Yeah.
Now Lance is showing the kid's got talent. There's no doubt about it, and he shows it now and again. But he also gets a bit dodgy now and again. I think it's the car that's holding them both back, and I think Vettel will gradually feel he will feel that he's got no confidence in the car and he will go slower. I hope not. It would be sad to see a world champion go away.
Yuki Tsunoda sort of struggled a little bit too. There was some interesting radio traffic on that. But again, this is reality. It was kind of, when I saw those things, it was like, well, welcome to Formula One.
Yeah, it's interesting that Pierre Gasly is giving him some advice. Learn what you say and what you're going to say, what you're not going to say.
Politics.
Well, it dropped Pierre Gasly in it effectively. I mean, he did come up with the goods as far as Red Bull were concerned, but he used to. He wasn't the easiest guy for Red Bull to have in a Red Bull frontline car, and he paid the penalty. He was demoted. So it's a bit shame.
The AlphaTauri looks good at times. It definitely looks good.
Absolutely,
you know.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt, because it is a. It should be a good car, shouldn't it?
version 2 Red Bull,
sort of, yeah. So there were other good drives from lots of people. George Russell had a good drive, but it's so difficult to tell. Mazepin didn't cover himself in glory again at the back. Mick Schumacher, he's getting to learn the craft in the car. Latifi, well, I don't know about him.
No.
I don't think he's ever going to be any better than he is.
But again, you've got financial involvement from his father in the Williams team. So, mentioning Williams, they come up for, I've got it here, it's their 750th Grand Prix at the next Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Which kind of sad that the Williams family themselves are not there anymore, which we've talked about. But 750 Grand Prix under the name of Williams Grand Prix, that's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I kind of treat it as a bit of a falsehood now, because it's like calling, saying Mercedes have had 500 Grand Prix because it used to be Brawn and it used to be all sorts of things years ago. Yes, it is still the Williams team, but it's not the Williams team.
No, because there's no frame, there's no clear.
It's now, it could be called the Schickelheimer team. I don't care. It's a different team to the Williams team that I knew all my career.
Well, completely different management process now and everything, and that's what
right. Well, it's like Alpine was
Renault
and Benetton and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Okay, that's good.
But all in all, there's potentially maybe 19, 20 Grand Prix to go, so that season is well and truly open.
Yeah, it is, if they get all those Grand Prix in. And under current circumstances with the COVID and internationally, I think it would be a very difficult call to say they're going to do that. We've already seen Canada drop off, which is a shame. Fantastic Grand Prix, that is, and Turkey take its place. So I think there's still a lot more shuffling to go on.
Yeah, places like Singapore and Japan definitely would be
Australia.
They'll be on the risk list. So we'll wait and see how that develops, and whether there's ones that substitute it, or we get double headers like we had at Red Bull Ring last year as well.
Yeah, it could even do that.
Logistics behind it become massive.
It should be getting easier, because COVID apparently is getting easier depending on where you go. But then you look at like Nepal and India and places like that, and it's a disaster we're going to be living with in sport, in life, in business for an awful long time.
Oh, as you well know, I had my first COVID shot this week, so I've had number 1.
Yeah, I haven't had
Thank
one.
you, Mr. Pfizer. I've got number 2 to go. It's not too bad. She's a little bit tender still, 3 days in, but other than that, we're okay. But what does it mean at the end of the day? I don't know.
But I'll give an overrider there. That's not because you're infirm and over 65. It's because you may be going to the Olympic Games.
Yes, well, I think there's a big question mark over those as well. And more from our archive section now. Back in 2001, it was the very first V8 Supercar event at Pukekohe. And of course, it was also the emergence of the 2-litre touring car and the V8 touring car in New Zealand spec. 44 cars lined up for the first race. This is how it shaped up.
We've a perfect track today, I believe. It's dry, it's clean, there's more rubber getting on it as the lap getting all hold off, as we head toward the V8 Supercars deal. But here's Ashley Stitchbury in the Falcon, Barry Tomlinson, and this is very, very quick little Toyota. Overall, it's actually qualified in 13th position, but we're going V8 2-litre, V8 2-litre. Andy Booth, what a great welcome back it is. Man, first time in touring cars. I mean, the last time he was here, he had a very spectacular win in the New Zealand Grand Prix, Phil, and I think there's thousands of fans who remember that. Hello, Breckers, ex-Ford champion, and Andrew Anderson, that's a man that we should be keeping our eyes. Kevin Bell, the third of the 2-litre cars. Bruce Robb, and here's an underestimated driver, and of course the 800 winner John McIntyre running out the outside of row 4.
McIntyre battling a wee bit because they had a terrible practice session. He got a little bit out of shape coming over the top of the Ford man and put the little Nissan into the Armco quite hard indeed. The Team Kiwi boys, well, no stranger to repairing cars after being banged up, and they got it back together and back in shape, and he will, as Brian said, join on row number 4. Well, lights off on the pit on the safety car. In fact, it's gone, so they're going to go this time round 16 laps, 2 litres on the right hand side of your screen. This beautiful silver new Altezza of Barry Tomlinson, right alongside him Ashley Stitchbury, the current Trans Am champion in the Maguire's Falcon, the V8 Tourer, New Zealand's coming class, you'd have to say. 24 V8s here, 19 2 litres faced the scrutineers a couple of days ago. We've lost a couple since then, but we have got full fields, and expect fireworks at the first turn for the first time round. The Toyota, the silver Toyota New Zealand back cars of Phil Hellebreakers and Barry Tomlinson on the right of your screen. On the left, it's the Falcon, and right in behind him, the man Brian was talking about, that is Andy Booth having his first drive in a tin top. So the slow start, I think Brian's going to play into the hands of the V8s. They've got a lot more low down torque. Look at Kevin Bell coming up on the outside from about row number 4. So away they go, and first into the Boost S's, it will be the Maguire's Falcon of Stitchbury. Right in behind him, it looks like it's the Commodore of Booth, and then it is another Commodore, and that's Andrew Anderson. So V8s to the 4 early on, but look at the way these cars funnel down these S's. This is where everyone was predicting there would be problems. Looks like everyone's gone through safely.
Well, no question about that. 16 laps here at Pukekohe, and Ashley Stitchbury, the current national Trans Am champion, getting a tremendous run out there in the Maguire's Falcon, run under the Mark Pitch Motorsport banner. And here's Robbie Booth getting pressure put on him by the second of the Anderson Racing Commodores, and this is Andrew Anderson up in 3rd position. That's the Zantac car of Andy Booth. There's Bruce Robb from Palmerston North in the Ford Falcon, and Barry Tomlinson gets shuffled back a couple there in the Toyota, but still being the first of the Toyotas as they come round over the top of the Ford Mountain to complete lap 1 of 16.
We can see for those fantastic One Sport shots just how bumpy it is here at Pukekohe, and Ashley Stitchbury finding that as he puts a couple of wheels on the grass. So Stitchbury trying 100% at the moment. In second, it's a Commodore freight train. It is the Anderson cars, the Zantac car of Andy Booth, and the car behind that, the sister car to the Zantac car, that is the Valvoline and Cummins car of Andrew Anderson.
Well, Kevin Bell sitting back there in the BNT BMW. He's the second of the 2-litre cars. Got a very, very good start, but he's being hounded by V8s, and more V8s. And there's another one of the Team Kiwi cars going round there. That's John McIntyre. He's having a day from hell, and boy, I hope that everybody's wide awake as they come out of the Boost Mobile efforts. But it's got a problem whether he's having trouble snatching some gears to get that car mobile again. But it's been pretty much a bittersweet weekend for Team Kiwi Racing.
Well, it really has. As I said, their weekend got off to a bad start with Johnny Mack and one of the Nissan Primeras, and then of course Angus Fogg had some moments coming over the top of the mountain in the supercar, but that's all behind them as we watch this V8 benefit at the front of this one at the moment. Ashley Stitchbury's disappeared, so it's now the Zantac car in second, it's the Andersons in third, and it's Bruce Robb in fourth. Here we are on the One Sport replay. Have a look at this. You're watching for the Team Kiwi car, the black Team Kiwi car. There it is, and it got a tap. I got to say, I think it got a tap in there from the John Deere sponsored car of Miles Pope. Reese McKay is in fact at the wheel of the number 2 today, so they've swapped cars from what we've got here on the entry list. There we are, a good sort of a spin there for Reese. So here's the man that Brian Lawrence talks about. This is Ashley Stitchbury, and look at the challenge here coming from Andrew Anderson on their sister car. Both Bruce and Wayne Anderson run the Pine Pack timber business up in Whenuapai. They built these cars in their own workshop. The car that Anderson drives, the number 34, the Valvoline car, is a season old. The Zantac car of Andy Booth is brand spanking new.
Well, they certainly get some fast cars out of that Anderson Racing workshop, don't they? They've got Mustangs and Camaros and Commodores, and they all are very, very quick. And Andrew Anderson had some very, very cruel luck down at the LK 500 at Ruapuna with just a few laps to go. The engine let go, and he and his dad had put in a tremendous performance during the 500 Ks. But as Murray Walker says, you know, anything can happen in motor racing, and it normally does. It's another Murrayism. But a great run there. Car number 75 further back down the field in there, if we can get a glimpse of it. That's Dean Perkins in the Road and Track Performance Falcon. This is the debut for both Dean into the V8 touring car category and for the brand new car that was built here at Pukekohe. And this class field just seems to be growing and growing and growing. It's not only every year, it's every meeting.
It really is, Brian. It's captured the imagination of the public. They want to see it. There's lots and lots of cars being built. It's all its early times in the New Zealand season, of course, with the CRC summer season coming up very well in the next couple of months, in fact. Well, welcome back to Pukekohe Park Raceway for the big V8 Supercar weekend. Now, while you've been away, there's been all sorts of action, but it's still this man, number 72, Ashley Stitchbury, in the Maguire's Falcon that leads this race. But there has been some problems, and there's one of them there, and that is Les Brown in the Great North Road Imports car. And also coming into the pits is Kevin Williams in the 25, so there has been some problems. Let's have a look at it on the replay. Watching the yellow car, that's Les Brown. Just getting it a little bit offline coming out of the Boost S's, and he gets the big help from the Strapex car, and that is the result. So Les Brown out of this. Here it is from a different angle. Watch the yellow car and watch the Commodore behind it.
He tried so hard to miss him too. That's going to sideline that car for the race, no question about that.
Welcome back to Pukekohe Park Raceway. You've come at the opportune time because we've just gone green with a fairly lengthy safety car period, but it is still this man, 72, Ashley Stitchbury, in the front, the Maguire's Falcon, doing the job. In second place, it's Andy Booth in the Zantac Commodore, and in third place, it's the sister car to the Zantac car, that is Andrew Anderson in the Valvoline Cummins car. Really, BL, Ashley's had this on a string the whole way.
Well, he has. He's a very seasoned racer, and he's a very cunning racer as well. And I think what we saw in the when the lights went out on the safety car and they got the green, as we saw cars in second, third and fourth position were kept napping. I mean, when you have a rolling start, you know, the idea is to stay almost within reason. It's right on the back bumper of these guys, but when the lights on the safety car out, everybody was sort of looking around thinking, well, where are we going to go now? And you look at the gap now. I mean, Andrew Booth had a perfect opportunity to be right on the back of that Falcon and give Stitch a bit of pressure and you know, keep him under pressure in the closing stages of the race. But however, that's the way it is. But Stitchbury showing all his experience that has taken him to a Formula Ford Championship, a Trans Am Championship. He's worked very, very hard at his career, still working, badgering away at it to try and get a Konica drive in Australia next season. But this is doing his career no harm whatsoever in the Maguire's Tracer Ford Falcon, which I think about probably 2.5, 3 months ago was an 80,000 rent-a-car.
He really has been busy. His wife Anne is given birth to a little baby boy not so long ago. He's been to Bathurst, as you said, BL. He's been racing the Trans Am and building the Trans Am, I should say, and also racing this Falcon and building the Falcon. It's been a real process for the Mark Petch team to get this car up and going. They had a lot of disappointments at the recently completed LK 500, but they are making amends for it here. Further back through the field, car number 14. Have a look for it. This is Barry Tomlinson. He is currently the leading 2-litre car in the brand new Altezza, currently in 10th place. So he's got a great job in a brand new car. The Toyota Altezza, it runs a similar sort of a Hollinger gearbox, a straight cut gearbox. The rules have been relaxed a little bit in Schedule S to allow this car to be more than competitive. He's currently about 15 seconds behind Ashley Stitchbury, but when you take into consideration the start positions and various other things, that is a great race for Barry Tomlinson. His sister car, Phil Hallebraker's ex-Formula Ford champion, just a couple of spots in behind him.
Well, no question the pressure's off Stitchbury now as the race unwinds, but probably about 3 or 4 laps to go, but the car absolutely in superb condition. I mean, it didn't finish, unfortunately, the 500k race, but as you say, the team, quite rightfully so, have been absolutely flat strap. The power board's made a fortune out of them with the midnight oil burning away there up in Petch's workshop. And Andy Booth, I think that he's just sitting there in second position. The pressure is off Stitchbury. I don't think Andy Booth's going to catch Stitchbury. I think his second position is pretty safe. Andrew Anderson is in third position there. Bruce Robb here in the Falcon. There's Dean Perkins coming there in the Road and Track Performance Falcon, and he'll be reasonably happy with this performance. First time out in the car. They haven't done any testing, but a big charge coming down through the field is the motor up car. That's the car of Paul Manuel. A lot of development gone into that, and certainly impeccably presented. But I'm very impressed with that Toyota of Barry Tomlinson and Phil Hellebrecht, because they've done a great job with those cars. So, as we say, with the race winding down, we're keeping an eye out for the white flag as the field settles down. But there's Stitchbury well and truly in control of this event. There's the Coke and Commodore of Jody Vincent from the Waikato. Another door needed for that car before we get underway tomorrow, I would think. But Phil, I think that the speed variations between these cars here today, it's a lot, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It was always going to be, though, Brian, I guess, with when you've got the V8s and the 2 litres. There is quite a disparity between the two. And Ashley Stitchbury showing that, just already starting to pick his way through the lap traffic as we wind down to the business. And in fact, there is the checkered flag. So Stitchbury takes the win, absolutely uncontested there. Great drive from Ashley. In second place, it'll be Andrew Booth, and in third place, it should be Andrew Anderson.
Perspective Group is a leading media production company based in Auckland, New Zealand. Established in 2009 by former TVNZ producer David Turner, Perspective Group offers you a vast arrangement of media options to fit any size or budget. It covers truly global services supported by some of New Zealand's leading media talents. For more information, contact Perspective Group Limited at perspectivegroupltd@gmail.com and check out the website perspectivegroupltd.com, where you'll find even more information on creating your media solutions. Racing World is presented by Race Control Magazine.